So there is a hidden ending to Dragon's Dogma 2 that I think the very large majority of players are actually going to miss, and honestly it makes the ending of the game so much better than it would have been, yet it is completely hidden like I said, and it is very easy to miss. And so today I'm going to go over everything you need to know about the hidden ending in Dragon's Dogma 2. Now it goes without saying we are going to be talking about the end of the game here, so this will be getting into spoiler territory. If you just want to experience everything for yourself with no spoilers at all, then it is probably worth clicking off the video, but just know that most of you will probably miss how to do this, and if you start a new game plus, then you will have to finish the entire game again just to get to this end game. So consider yourself warned about the spoilers. I am still going to do my best to try and be essentially as vague as possible, because I do want you guys to experience this for yourselves. Now once you get to the final mission of the regular game, it requires you to obviously kill the dragon. This isn't really a spoiler because it was explained from the very first minute of the game. It is literally the entire premise of the game that this is the fate of the Arisen, who we play as. But to do the hidden ending, you do actually have to approach things a little bit differently. Now in that mission you will get to the moment where Phases summons the dragon, and you will have two options here. You can either walk away, which is considered the bad ending. I think you just essentially end the game there and you are considered to be a villain within Vernworth because you are leaving the dragon alive. Or the good ending is that you can go and fight the dragon, and that is what I'd imagine most people will end up doing. That is exactly what I did. At the end of that you will win, and you are pretty much just heralded in Vernworth as the true sovereign, and it will show just the cutscenes and the credits of you kind of taking your place on the throne. Now if you just sit there and watch the credits, well, the game ends, and that is, I guess, the official ending for the game. At that point your only option is to start New Game Plus or start a brand new game. You can't load back into that save and just go and explore the world, so the game pretty much ends right there. But this is where you'll need to change things up if you want to still access the hidden endgame. So during that credit scene where you can still walk around and stuff, and it's just kind of playing the credits on the side there, the spectral character that we see throughout the game, he is nearby, and if you go and talk to him, well, you can essentially turn back time and do things differently, setting off on an alternate timeline. You can go and talk to him, and the first time that you talk to him, he doesn't really do much. He just kind of leaves the conversation, but then when you talk to him the second time, he will grant your wish and send you on that alternate timeline. You'll go right back to the moment where you were riding on the back of the dragon to get to the battleground, and instead of just going along for the ride and fighting the dragon, you will need to climb up to the dragon's heart, which is glowing. You then want to access your inventory, and you can use the Godsbane blade, which then allows you to use it on yourself, and you will pretty much stab yourself, killing both yourself and the dragon, sending you both plummeting into the ocean. Now keep in mind, I'm fairly sure you can do this on the first attempt without actually fighting the dragon, so this doesn't have to be accessed only through the credit scene. I'm pretty sure if you just go and do this on the first attempt, it does still work. But to be honest, I would actually recommend fighting the dragon because it is just a really cool boss fight. But yeah, you can do this on that first attempt. Also keep in mind that if you have finished the game and you didn't know this was here, you can still load up your last save. This is only if you didn't enter New Game Plus. So if you finished the game and then just kind of thought, all right, I'm done with that, you can still access these. You just need to load that last save. It will replay the credits, and then you can still do what I just said, go and talk to the spectral guy. So yeah, it's not all lost for you guys. The only way you can actually lose this is by entering a New Game Plus, at which point you'll have to finish the entire game again. Now at this point you have officially changed the timeline, and this sees you pretty much entering the end game known as the UNM World. The entire world is now covered in red ash and smoke. The oceans are drained, and time as you know it doesn't even work the same anymore. There are around 8 or 9 different tasks that you need to achieve in order to correct the world to its former state, and you do actually have a time limit to do this in, as well as the fact that if you guys die, you have to start from the first day of the Unmoored World all over again. Now this is where I'm going to get into the tips to help you guys through the Unmoored World. Before we do get into the tips though, if you guys are new here, be sure to subscribe and turn on those notifications so you don't miss out on any more content. Now I'm going to try and be as vague as I can about most of this, just because, like I said, I think it is best experience yourself rather than me just holding your hand through it. So I'll pretty much give you guys the overview of what needs to be done, some very useful tips that if you don't know, it could honestly screw the whole thing up for you. But other than that, I want to try and just leave as much of it unsaid as I possibly can, just so you guys can enjoy it for yourself. If you need genuine help, there are a million other guides out there already, but I think I can cover everything you guys need to know without genuinely showing the entire thing anyway. And hey, if you are stuck, be sure to leave a comment down below and I can try and guide you on the way. Now, the overall goal of what you need to achieve is you'll need to clear 4 final bosses from the map, as well as evacuating all of the major cities and towns in the game, and doing this will correct the course that you set the world on, restoring everything to how it was before that. that. There will be 4 red beams that you can see in the skies and on the map as well, and these all point to the location of the final bosses. Now, you may only start with 3, don't stress if that's the case. The last one will spawn after about 3 or 4 days of resting, so don't worry if that's not there. It wasn't there for me either. I thought the game was actually bugged, but I think that last one only spawns after, about the 3rd or 4th day. The towns you'll need to evacuate are Bakbatal, Vernworth, the Sacred Arbor, which is where the elves live, and the Volcanic Island. Each of these will not only clear the main cities, but also the ones around them. For example, clearing Vernworth clears out Harv as well. The seafloor shrine that you get to towards the end of the game becomes the safe haven for all of these evacuations. Pretty much everyone you evacuate goes there, and so all the vendors and stuff will still be there, and there is also a port crystal there as well, plus some other ones too that are spread around the map. On top of that, there is a quest for this too, so don't stress. The game does somewhat walk you through it. It's not like you've just got to figure all of this out for yourself, but like I said, with the rest of the game, it doesn't really hold your hand and tell you every single thing you need to do. Now, the key issue is that, like I said, there's a time limit. The red fog around the map is closing in each day, and you'll only have 12 in-game days to complete this challenge. Otherwise, as far as I know, the game ends and you have essentially failed. Every time you need to rest to get some health back, that is wasting a day, which is kind of troubling because, like I said, if you die, you'll have to start from day 1 of the Unmoored World again. Now, there is kind of a workaround to this that involves creating an in-save, and then if you do die, you can just essentially dashboard and then just go back into the game, load from the last in-save, and it will load back to where you were. So if you're on like the 4th day, for example, you don't necessarily have to go back to day 1, but keep in mind that in order to make an in-save, you have to sleep at the inn, and each time you do that, that is setting you forward a day. So you can't just keep saving over and over again. You will eventually have to kind of manage your saves, and that means there is a good chance you are going to fight multiple bosses, potentially die on like the 3rd one, and you're gonna at the very least have to go back to that in save and do all of that over again. So it is definitely not as easy as it might seem. Now, because of how difficult it is, there are 3 items that are absolute necessities if you want to finish this. The first one are ferry stones to get around the map much safer than actually traveling, because the ox cart system is no longer in place with the world being the way that it is. And obviously, if you try and walk everywhere, you're going to come across enemies who are just going to drain that health, meaning you're eventually going to need to rest, and that is going to take days off that timer. Keep in mind that more ferry stones do spawn around the place. They are a lot more accessible. A lot of enemies will actually just drop them, so don't worry about the ferry stones. They are pretty easy to come by. The next item you'll need a lot of is wake stones, because obviously if you die, that is not good at all, and so wake stones are arguably the most important items you can ever have in the end game. Lastly, we have the all heal elixirs. Now, for those who don't know, these heal you to full health regardless of whether you're in need of resting or not. So these will allow you to kind of get your health back after those boss fights without needing to rest and therefore waste a day. Now, in terms of how to approach the whole endgame situation, in my opinion, the best way to approach this is by essentially clearing the bosses first, as once you clear all 4, it will actually stop the red fog closing in, and then technically you can spend as much time in the end game as you want. That 12-day timer kind of goes away after you take out all 4 of those bosses. Now, the bosses are pretty damn tough in my opinion. They are definitely more dangerous than the regular dragons in the game. Not all of them are dragons. I'm not going to show them all just because I don't want to spoil them, but they do take about the same length of time to kill as a regular dragon, but they definitely deal a lot more damage. So you do have to play it a bit safer. These things can genuinely one-hit kill you, so you need to be very safe around them. There is also an initial red beam in Bakbatal that you'll need to clear first, but it isn't a boss. It's just kind of a bunch of goblins, and it's almost like the first quest that just kind of introduces you to the concept. So you want to do that one first. All you need to do is just walk up to the beam, which can be found pretty much near where the ox cart usually is, and you just press B or circle, and then once you do the Bakbatal one, it is worth doing the other 4 bosses either first or at least alongside the evacuations. Now, when it comes to the evacuations, almost every city will try and refuse to evacuate, so they kind of spread into their own little quests where you've kind of got to do this or that to get them to agree, and it does make it a little bit more difficult. Sometimes you do actually have to try and convince them and then rest a day and come back before they agree. So you will try and evacuate them all, and they're not all going to play along, which gives you kind of more stuff to actually do in this endgame. Now, the last tip that I'll give is that before you enter the 5th red beam that spawns in the seafloor shrine, this is pretty much once you've finished all of the quests and all of the bosses, it will just spawn a 5th beam in the middle. But before you enter that, you want to spend all of your work Worm's Life crystals at the Dragon Forged on anything you want to take into New Game Plus. Anything that you guys buy, you will spawn with once you get to the Border Watch outpost in New Game Plus. You just need to access your storage, and anything you were carrying in this moment will carry over. So you want to buy stuff for all of your favorite vocations. You want to buy the best items of armor and weapons, because I don't know if these are available straight away once you get into New Game Plus, and you are going to get close to 500 or so Worm's Life crystals from the end game, so you can buy a hell of a lot of stuff from the Dragon Forged. But that's kind of all I want to give you guys for now, not because I'm trying to be secretive, but just because I think the tension and the adrenaline of the end game is what makes it awesome. If you know every single thing to do, then it probably wouldn't be nearly as fun. It turns into almost a little roguelite in that you have to make a run through all of the bosses and evacuations without dying, and if you do, then you've got to start over, or at the very least just load your recent in save. So expect it to be a little bit nervy at times, but that is what made it so amazing to me. It kind of kept me on the edge of my seat. But that is going to do it for this one. If you are genuinely stuck, then hit me up in the comments and I'll try and do my best to guide you guys in the right direction. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe, and if there is more Dragon's Dogma 2 content you guys want to see, then be sure to let me know down below as well. But with that being said, thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.